It's that time of the week again. It is the Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft. Today we're doing a 3-round, 12-team superflex PPR league Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft. If you'd like to see other formats, I have put out basically all superflex, sometimes tight end premium leagues. But if you'd like to see other ones, one quarterback, points per carry leagues, or any other crazy settings you may have, let me know. If we get enough people that want to see that, then I will definitely put out a video for those. This is the last recorded Dynasty Rookie mock draft that I will be doing before the combine, which starts in less than a week now. So I'm excited to get some combine stuff in here. And do we overreact to the combine a bit? Maybe, but it does affect draft capital to a certain extent. So again, this is a 12-team Superflex PPR league. We are basing these off of landing spots. Link of the mock draft is in the description of this video. There were 28 fantasy relevant players taken in this 3-round mock draft. I will be taking those 28 players first and then finishing the rest of the 3rd round with guys that I like and just guys that I want to bring up. So let me know in the comments what you think here. And if you guys have been following along in any type of capacity, you know that Ashton T is the 101. As I get rid of the sound there. You know that Ashton Genty is the 101 in all formats, super flex, one quarterback. I guess the only way he won't be 101 is if he falls pretty far in the draft more than we expected, or if your league just severely diminishes running back production somehow. In this mock draft, he did actually fall a little bit. He went 20th to the Denver Broncos. So it's a good landing spot, obviously 1st-round draft capital and all of that, but a little bit farther than we are expected. Honestly, I could see there's a lot of teams I could see Genty going to, starting from pick 6, the Raiders, the Saints, the Bears, maybe even the sneaky 49ers, Cowboys, obviously. The Cardinals could take him. The Bengals could take him. So there's a lot of Denver, obviously. There's a lot of teams that could take him. So I don't think he does fall, but he is the 101 here. At the 102, I'm taking Caleb Johnson. Now, again, if you watch my videos, you know that I like to do these drafts, not always just this is what I would do if this were the landing spots, if this were the world we're living in. I like to think of, well, what would other people potentially do as well? I like to do a mixture of that just to give you a more realistic view of what your draft could potentially turn out like. Because, those of us that prepare heavily for these drafts, we get to our rookie draft and it just, within the first 3 picks, it does not go the way that we expected. So we have to be kind of prepared for that as well. I went with Caleb Johnson here, who for me is he's my RB4 in this draft class, but he goes 44th overall to the Cowboys. So I know the Cowboys are mocked Ashton Genty a lot. In this mock draft, it's Caleb Johnson to the Cowboys in the early to mid 2nd round. And I think if that happens, I could see Caleb Johnson going as high as the 102. And I would not be shocked even though there's another running back that was taken ahead of him. At the 103, I'm going Luther Burden here. Now, I've been telling you guys that to me, Luther Burden and Ted McMillan are in the same tier. And if Luther Burden gets the right draft capital to the right team, and I like it more than Ted McMillan, I'm okay with taking Luther Burden over Ted McMillan. I like Ted McMillan. I think he's a good player. In this draft, Luther Burden goes 12th overall to the Cowboys, and I like that more than 9th overall to the Saints. Why? Well, first of all, the quarterback situation. We don't really know what the Saints quarterback situation is going to be. Is it Derek Carr for another year or however long? Do they bring in a rookie? I don't know. We haven't even seen Olave really reach the potential that we think he's capable of. So now we're throwing in another receiver into the mix. Olave is still going to be there. So there's that to kind of contemplate as well. Obviously, Kellen Moore coming in, we have a new system and all of that. And you can argue McMillan is a better prospect than Olave, but Olave is not just going to go away. Now, I know people are going to say, well, you got CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. Yes, but I think Luther Burden and CeeDee Lamb kind of complement each other pretty well here. Potentially, if they're going to use Luther Burden also on the outside, which I assume they will if they're taking him 12th overall. And Luther Burden can kind of, the defenses focus their resources on Lamb, and at least Luther Burden kind of one-on-one in a lot of situations. And I think, the Cowboys offense, there's enough production to go around potentially if Dak kind of returns to form a little bit. And I like that. I like that landing spot for him. So I'm taking him 103 overall, which in most mock drafts you will see Ted McMillan go. At the 104, I'm taking Cam Ward. The closer we get to the draft, the more I'm in the belief that these quarterbacks are just not going to fall as far as we think in dynasty rookie drafts for a couple reasons. Not everyone pays attention from January in terms of dynasty rookies and stuff like that. A lot of people they see the draft and then they base what they see off of the draft. In superflex leagues, we're taught that quarterbacks are king, which they generally are. And so someone's going to see, hey, Cam Ward just went third overall to the Giants. I'm going to take him. I'm sitting here at the 104 and I need a quarterback. I'm going to take him. I can get a running back in my second round pick. And you're probably right. I can find a receiver somewhere else. And you're probably right. I can get a tight end. Not many quarterbacks in this draft. So I know a lot of people are saying the quarterback class is not deep. It's not very good, blah, blah, blah. But also there's this idea of the positional value of the position of the quarterback position and the scarcity of it in this draft. If there truly is only 2 or 3 guys we can count on, and you have multiple picks, you have early second round picks, why not get your quarterback if you need one in the early first? The way I think about it, and I think it's going to go that way a lot. He goes 103, Cam Ward, to the Giants. That's my favorite landing spot of the teams that are in like that top 10 that need a quarterback. So that includes Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, the Raiders, the Saints. Those 5 teams in the that are picking in the top 10, I could see taking a quarterback. My favorite landing spot is the Giants. You have Malik Neighbors. I think Dable is still a good coach. You have Tyrone Tracy. You have Wan'Dale Robinson. You have Theo Johnson potentially. So you have some weapons there. At the 105, I will go Travion Henderson. My RB3 in the draft class. He actually gets drafted ahead of Caleb Johnson. He gets picked 37th overall to the Raiders. And could I see him go over Caleb Johnson? Sure. I keep telling people, man, from the 102 to like the 108, there's so many different players that could go in this range, which is why I'm a fan personally of trading back. Because, again, I keep saying it in my videos, but would I prefer Caleb Johnson or would I prefer Ted McMillan in this draft? Ted McMillan and a first round pick. Give me Ted McMillan and a first round pick. Or Caleb Johnson and Quinshawn Judkins in a first round pick, things like that. That's what I would prefer. And that's what you could do if you do trade back. I went Travion Henderson here. He goes to the Raiders. He goes top 40. He gets top 40 draft capital. Pete Carroll's there. He's going to use him as his main guy, most likely. And Travion Henderson is a good player. I think he could be like his ceiling is RB1 in this draft class. I know that sounds crazy with Ashton Genty. I think Travion Henderson is that good that his ceiling is RB1 in this draft class. At the 106, I'm going to stop letting him fall. I will take Ted McMillan. Again, could I see this happening? Yes. Could you also just say, you know what? It's what many people consider the best wide receiver prospect in this draft class. He goes top 10. He gets top 10 draft capital, and he goes 103 or 102. Sure, that can happen, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I would also be surprised if people see the Saints drafting him and they don't really address the quarterback's spot. It's going to be Derek Carr for another year. You have guys like Olave, Shaheed there. Kamara is going to catch passes, and players like that. So I could see people being a little bit sour on this pick and letting him drop just a couple spots. Again, could he go 102? Absolutely. And it just plays back into my theory of this rookie draft is if I'm sitting at like the 102 to the 104, I want to trade back, get extra assets, and get to the 106 to the 108. At the 107, now this is a non-tight end premium league, but I still think people overvalue tight ends a little bit. I would let tight ends fall just a little bit more here in non-tight end premiums. And the reason being is even the top tier guys are going to be less valuable than the top tier running backs, wide receivers. And also, without a tight end premium, if you're not like a top 3 tight end or 3 to 6 tight end, you're really not that important in non-tight end premium leagues. You're just not. So there's a very small range of guys that you would have to get to. Most of the time, I take Tyler Warren over Colston Loveland. I'm Tyler Warren over Colston Loveland. I'm team Tyler Warren. I like them both. I think Colston Loveland's more of that pure pass catching type of tight end, the big slot. But I do think if we see the narrative of in this mock draft, Colston Loveland gets drafted by the Chargers, 22nd overall, and he gets reunited with Harbaugh, and Justin Herbert likes his tight ends, and he could be the second weapon for this team. This whole narrative is going to push Colston Loveland up and probably above Tyler Warren, especially if Tyler Warren goes where he went, which we will get to. Again, I like Colston Loveland. I just think Tyler Warren's going to get on the field more, and that's half the battle with tight ends. Look at Dalton Kincaid. One of the reasons Dalton Kincaid's not producing, in my opinion, is he's not on the field enough. He's not on the field enough. He doesn't maybe do all the dirty things that tight ends need to do to get on the field 90% of the time. And for that reason, you get some inconsistencies with Dalton Kincaid. I think Loveland could also fall into that category potentially. At the 108, I'm taking my RB2 here, who does fall in this mock draft. It's Omarion Hampton. He goes all the way in the third round, which I do think at the end of the third round, by the way, which I do think would make him fall in rookie drafts a little bit. Just psychologically, players are going to take early second round running backs over late third round guys for the most part. But also, like, the players that have been researching these guys since January, like all of you watching this video, and I'm a smaller channel, and we still get 1,000+ views on these videos, plus all the other channels out there. There's a lot of people that are watching from now, and they're still going to take their guys because it was their guy in January. So yes, draft capital does matter, but at times, you'll go, you know what? I'm a big Omarion Hampton fan. I could still justify where he's going. It's not terrible draft capital. It's a great landing spot. It's the Vikings. Vikings, 97th overall. I love the Vikings landing spot for running backs. That end of the third round pick, I see it a lot in mock drafts. Whatever running back goes there, man, I'm going to love. And I think you're going to get some value on them. Whether it's an Omarion Hampton, who at times goes 102 in mock drafts, and now you're potentially getting him in the mid to late first round, that's value. Or if it's a guy like Dylan Sampson or RJ Harvey, who they never go in the first round of rookie mocks. However, you can get some good value from them in the second round. So Omarion Hampton, to me, is an awesome, awesome running back. Would I be shocked if he's the best running back in this draft class? I would not. I think he's that good. And I love that landing spot. Again, psychologically, though, you see a late third round pick, I think it's going to drop him just a little bit. Could be wrong, though. Definitely could be wrong. 109, I will take the other quarterback here, Shedeur Sanders. I don't think there should necessarily be this much separation between the two. Shedeur Sanders goes 6th overall to the Raiders. I don't know if we love that landing spot. It's obviously he's going to be he's going to have the reins and get a chance to prove himself. But I'm definitely Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders, but I recognize, like, hey, this is a quarterback that's taken in the top 10, in the top 5 potentially. We still need a lot. He still shouldn't fall too far in a Dynasty superflex league. At the 110, I will take Tyler Warren. Again, non-tight end premium. In heavy tight end premium leagues, you can make an argument for Warren being top 4, top 5. In non-tight end premium leagues, this is probably the range, 109, 110, where I take the tight ends, even though they are first-round picks. I'm a Tyler Warren guy, but he goes to the Colts, and I think people are not going to like that landing spot because of Anthony Richardson, right? They're not going to like it because of Anthony Richardson. The one counter I will say to that is we didn't like Brock Bowers to the Raiders, and Brock Bowers is the tight end one. So does he become just that safe over the middle of the field type of target for Anthony Richardson and still produces? Sure. He's so versatile, man. Tyler Warren's awesome. I love him. I absolutely love him. At the 111, I'm going Jackson Dart, another quarterback. Jackson Dart gets first-round draft capital. He goes to the Rams, 26th overall. Does this mean Matthew Stafford's gone? Maybe. Does this mean this is Matthew Stafford's future replacement? Maybe. Obviously, that will be, well, we should have a better idea about what that means when the draft actually happens. I'm assuming Matthew Stafford's gone. If they take Jackson Dart 26th overall, I'm assuming that Matthew Stafford's gone. Doesn't mean it has to happen that way, but I'm just going to assume that it is. And I'm not the biggest Jackson Dart guy, but he's getting a lot of hype. So dynasty players are already starting to hear his name, already starting to hear the hype. So he's getting a lot of hype. And he has a little bit of a rushing floor, kind of like maybe like a Bo Nix type of rushing floor type of player. And he goes to the Rams, who honestly, I think I almost prefer Jackson Dart 26th overall to the Rams versus Shador Sanders to the Raiders because of the landing spot. And the Rams, in my opinion, the Rams know how to develop a quarterback. Or at least put a quarterback in the best situation possible is what I should say. I mean, we saw like Baker Mayfield look good with the Rams, those couple of games, and that got him the job in Tampa. I think Garoppolo had a big game this year with the Rams. So I like that. And he potentially could go even higher in a super flex league. And then at the 112, I will take Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka does get first round draft capital. But he goes to the Steelers, which I think people are going to be a little bit sour on, which kind of drops him a little bit. He goes to a better landing spot in these 20s, whether it's the Rams, whether it's a team like the Rams, a team like the Texans, a team like the Packers, maybe, then I think people are going to be a little bit more excited, and maybe he goes closer to like the 110 range. Steelers, they can't even support George Pickens as a consistent fantasy option, but you still got to respect first round draft pick. I love Emeka Egbuka. I think he's a very safe player. He's going to give you good, solid production with ceiling potentially. I go back and forth between him and Matthew Golden as my wide receiver 3. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to hit the like button. Like 70% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. Help us get to 1,200 subscribers. And also join our Discord. Link is in the description. We go live with live rookie mock drafts that you can join us with and draft with us. Live startup mock drafts we'll be putting together in just a couple of weeks in March. We will be putting together some real money listener leagues where you get to play against us. So that should be a lot of fun as well. Into the second round here, going to speed it up just a little bit. Quinshon Judkins, who a lot of people, if you watch Dynasty rookie content, he goes in the first round a lot. Quinshon Judkins does fall a little bit. He falls to the end of the third round, just like Omarion Hampton. So I think that brings him down just a little bit. I'm a little bit lower on Quinshon Judkins than I think most. He's still RB 5-6 for me in that range. But he's kind of clearly behind, obviously, Genty, Hampton, Henderson. But also he's kind of clearly behind Caleb Johnson to me as well. But I still like him. I still think he's a good player. He goes to the Browns, great landing spot. He could be the Browns' main guy. Still think the Browns will use a two-back system, but he could be still good in that type of system. So good value here for Quinshon Judkins going at the 201. I'm really starting to like this rookie draft a lot. I know he came in saying it's not as deep, but the fact that we're so heavy at the running back position, it pushes good players down the board. It really does. Matthew Golden is my pick here at the 202. 14th overall pick. I'm a big Matthew Golden guy. Again, I go back and forth between him and Egbuka. I kind of look at it as like Egbuka is a little bit of a safer player. Golden maybe a little bit of a higher ceiling. That's just kind of how I look at it, whether that's fair or not. Matthew Golden gets drafted by the Titans in the second pick of the second round. And so the Titans in this world, it looks like they're still rolling with either Will Levis or a quarterback they bring in through free agency. So like a kind of a bridge quarterback or something, because they don't draft a quarterback in these first 3 rounds. So I like Golden. I think he's a good player. Don't love this quarterback, the landing spot without a quarterback there, like a Cam Ward, but maybe they bring someone in free agency and it makes it seem a little bit better. At the 203, Is that right? Yes, the 203. I am taking Elijah Arroyo. Elijah Arroyo. And the reason why I'm taking him this high, because normally, again, non-tight end premium leagues, I'm always going to push tight ends down the board a bit. But Elijah Arroyo goes 63rd overall to the Chiefs. He could go even higher. I wouldn't be surprised if someone sitting there at the 112, the team that won the championship, who just has a stacked team and just says, you know what? I'm going to take the next Travis Kelce. That's how people are going to view it, because I assume Travis Kelce is either retired in this situation, or we're assuming he's going to be very, very, like, his production's going to come down and his playing time's going to come down. Elijah Arroyo going to the Chiefs, people are going to eat that up. If the Chiefs takes any tight end in the second round, Dynasty players are going to eat it up. They just are, whether it's Harold Fannin, Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor, doesn't matter. People are going to eat that up. So I'll go Elijah Arroyo, who for me is the tight end 3 in this draft class. He is my tight end 3. So I don't think it's like a terrible reach either. At the 204, I'm going to go with the player that, again, I'm not a huge fan of Trey Harris, not as high as other people. I think he has a big, long range of outcomes, to just like complete bust to, could be a really good wide receiver in this league. He goes to the Chargers, so I think that's going to bump him up a little bit, because he kind of fits perfectly with like a Ladd McConkey. I just think was so limited from that offense at Ole Miss. Obviously, the numbers look great, but like he was running essentially like 2 or 3 routes, like hitch routes, come back six routes, and go routes, 9 routes. And you're obviously going to have to do more in the NFL. That being said, does that mean he can't do more just because the offense asked him to do that? No, it doesn't. But I am a little bit hesitant on Trey Harris. This is probably the range where he should go. It's an okay of a gamble when you start getting to the middle of the second round. And he gets a good landing spot. Trey Harris to the Chargers, like, they need another weapon there. And we all love Herbert. Now, they do take Loveland as well. So, he potentially coming in as the third target for that team. So we got to keep that in mind. At the 205, 17th overall pick, I'm taking Jalen Milroe. I keep saying this. If Jalen Milroe gets day 2 draft capital, I'm probably going to take him in this range, especially if he goes to a team where, like, you could see him starting from week 1. Here in this draft, he goes early 3rd round to the Browns. We could see him starting week 1, potentially. I don't think that's the best move to start Jalen Milroe week 1, but for fantasy, he runs the ball. And because if he gets a whole season for how good he is as a runner, if he gets an entire season as a starting quarterback, he is going to be a top 8 quarterback. And in superflex leagues, even one season with a top 8 quarterback is incredibly, incredibly valuable. Valuable to helping you win championships, or valuable for what you can sell them for. And and again, guys, even if you only get 1 or 2 seasons of him as a top 7, top 10 quarterback, that's going to be valuable than most other players taken after him in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. That's just the reality. As much as we want to talk ourselves into these rookies being awesome, that's just the reality. A lot of these guys are not going to hit. There's very rarely do we get 20, 28 rookies that are hits from a draft. That's kind of ridiculous. At the 206, I'm going with Jack Besh. I like Jack Besh. He had a great Senior Bowl, which is usually a good thing. A lot of people think he's going to go top 50 in this draft. Now, he doesn't go top 50 in this one. He goes 69th overall, nice, to the Patriots. So we're going to see Patriots next to that. We're not going to be excited. I think the lack of production from Patriots receivers over the last 4 seasons or so is more because they just didn't have a quarterback. Unless it's just, the Patriots don't know how to develop wide receivers. Maybe that's true too. Or draft them. But I'm not super down on the Patriots landing spot here. I wish he would have got 2nd round draft capital, but I believe in Drake May. I think Drake May is awesome. I think he's a really good player, and he easily can come in and be the number one target for Drake May. So I think that's actually a pretty sneaky good value here. At the 207, I will take Travis Hunter still. I'll take Travis Hunter here. Not much to say about this. I know he's going to the combine as a cornerback. I don't necessarily mean that he's going to be a cornerback completely. Maybe he's just going to show teams, hey, look what I can do at cornerback. Plus, you know what I can do at the receiver position. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a good enough gamble. It's a good enough gamble here. So I'm willing to take the gamble in a mid to late second round pick. Mason Taylor is going 208. Another tight end here. Another tight end. He gets goes to the Bengals, 49th overall. So he gets top 50 draft capital. I like Mason Taylor. I think he's I'm not quite sure what his upside is, but I think he could just be a solid tight end. Can he give you a Mike Gesicki season? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I assume, in this scenario, Bengals have like 3 of their 4 top tight ends are all free agents, including Mike Gesicki. So I assume that they moved on from Mike Gesicki, bring in Mason Taylor, and he becomes like that third option potentially for this Bengals team, which I love. And again, could he be Mike Gesicki, what Mike Gesicki did last year? Absolutely. At the 209, Jalen Royals. I like Jalen Royals. It just seems like every single mock draft, he gets terrible. He doesn't get a great landing spot. Whether I see him to the Ravens a lot in the second or third round, don't love that. In this one, he goes to the Cardinals. He gets top 50 draft capital, but he goes to the Cardinals. And I'm kind of back and forth on that one. It's like, man, if they put it all together, if Kyler Murray and this offense and the offensive coordinator put it all together, this could be an amazing landing spot. But we just saw Marvin Harrison be a huge disappointment, the greatest wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase, blah, blah, blah. And we just saw him be a huge disappointment for fantasy year one. So you're coming into a situation where realistically, Jalen Royals is at best from week one, the third target on this team behind Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison, in my opinion. He still has to beat out Michael Wilson, by the way. So I like Jalen Royals. We just never seem to get a really nice landing spot for him that I'm like, yes, because if he gets it, I like him enough to push him to the early second, right? 104, 102 to 105 range. I do. But I just never get that landing spot that we liked, which, again, landing spot's not everything, but it is going to affect the draft a little bit. Harold Fannin Jr. is my next pick. Mr. Harold Fannin, who put up insane numbers, goes to the Broncos, 51st overall. So does he become like that versatile weapon for them? The Joker position, as we like to call it, potentially. If Harold Fannin's legit, he could go in and be the number 2 target for this team year one if he's legit. I like him. My concern with him is that he's a tweener. And tweeners, you tend to have to go to the right team if you're going to be a tweener. That's why that's why we don't see Mike Gesicki putting up this kind of season every single year. That's why we don't see Jonnu Smith putting up the season he just had every single year, because you need to be on the right team that's going to use you as a tweener and not try to use you or penalize you for not being, doing all the other stuff that tight ends do. At the 211, as we get some noise happening in the background here, at the 211, I am taking Elik Iomanner. I see him kind of falling in mock drafts, it feels like. I kind of see him falling in mock drafts a little bit, Elik. And I'm not 100% sure why, but he falls a little bit in this one. He goes to the Broncos. So we get back-to-back Broncos, 85th overall. So, again, could he be the number 2 guy for them? Absolutely. But he's definitely going to be behind Sutton for at least a year. You got now Harold Fannin to compete with, Marvin Mims. I actually don't mind this landing spot. It's just the third-round draft capital historically doesn't hit very much for a wide receiver. And then we're finishing off the second round with one of my favorite guys, Savion Williams. And I say this every single video. because I'm trying to will it into reality. I'm trying to make it a reality. If you draft him, whatever team in this mock draft, it is the Raiders. I don't like begging the Raiders for things because I'm not a Raiders fan. I'm actually kind of a Chargers fan. He goes to the Raiders, early third round. Raiders, please use this guy like Cordero Patterson. Please don't turn this guy into just a wide receiver, go win one-on-one. Turn this guy into Cordero Patterson. Give him 8 to 10 carries a game. Give him 3 or 4 targets a game. Line him up in the backfield, in the wildcat, whatever. Please don't use him like an outside receiver that can go and win. Please just use him like Cordero Patterson. My rant's over. Savon Williams, man, to me, if they do use him as Cordero Patterson, there's a large range of outcomes for Savon Williams, in my opinion. Into the third round here, guys. We actually only have 4 more picks from this mock draft. I went with Quinn Ewers. Again, it's the third round. All these guys are dart throws. I'm not a Quinn Ewers guy. He goes to the Jets in the third round. I've told you guys, if I'm going to take a quarterback in rookie drafts, and that quarterback gets drafted in the third round of the real NFL draft, 2 things have to be true. One of 2 things have to be true. They have to be able to run the ball, which Quinn Ewers, I wouldn't categorize as that. Or 2, they have to really go to a team that knows how to develop quarterbacks. Vikings, Rams, 49ers, something like that. Third round to the Jets on a non-rushing quarterback, I'm basically out, but I do think people are going to take him because he does have an opportunity. I just don't think I think he's a backup. I really do think he's a backup. Isaiah Bond, his Texas teammate there, who gets drafted. He seemingly always gets drafted because of his speed. His speed's going to get him drafted probably day 2 at the latest. He goes to the Texans. I think he's just like a burner. I don't think he's a complete receiver. I think he's a burner, which is valuable to offenses. Is good for CJ Stroud. It's good potentially for Nico Collins, but it's going to be very hard to rely on Isaiah Bond for fantasy. So that's why he falls here. Wow, I didn't even realize I went 3 Texas players back to back to back. Gunnar Helm is my second to last pick from these guys in this mock draft. Goes to the Rams. So I actually like that landing spot. I think Gunnar Helm's a pretty good tight end. He's right in that range of guys, like the Mason Taylor range. It's just Mason Taylor went 50 picks ahead of him. Gunnar Helm goes at the end of the third, 100th overall to the Rams. I like that. You know, maybe year 1 doesn't do much, but year 2, he could become the starting tight end for the Rams. So I really like that landing spot. And then the last player that's taken in this mock draft that I haven't taken is Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins is an interesting one. I'm not the biggest fan, but I see the potential. I see the potential for Jaden Higgins. Absolutely do. Does he have the tools to kind of put it all together? Sure. That being said, he goes to the Ravens. I hate the Ravens as a landing spot. When have we seen a receiver be consistently good with the Ravens? I think the only time, to be honest, is Marquise Brown in 2021. I'm talking about the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. Marquise Brown in 2021, I think he was like wide receiver 22 or something. I know a lot of people are going to say, what about Zay Flowers this year? And you look at it like, oh, yeah, Zay Flowers. Okay, wide receiver 25 overall. Nice. Points per game. He was the wide receiver 36, guys, in points per game. He was the 25th overall because he played every single game. And that's usually if you play every single game and you're a solid contributor, you're going to be in the top 25, 30. But he was wide receiver 36 points in points per game. He was not making a difference. He just wasn't. So that's all the players. That's 28 guys taken in the first 3 rounds. So I'm going to go with some players that I personally like and that I want to talk about, starting off with Dylan Sampson. We're going to go through these a little bit quicker just because they don't have landing spots. Dylan Sampson, to me, I'm debating putting him in the tier with Caleb Johnson and Quinshon Judkins. That's how much I like Dylan Sampson. And you think about that and you say, holy crap, Caleb Johnson went 102, Quinshon Judkins went 201. I personally think Dylan Sampson's up there skill-wise with those players. Will he get the draft capital? That will be, we'll see if that happens. If he doesn't, then I have to obviously move him out of that tier just because, teams taking him a little bit later might lean towards them saying, I don't know if he can be our every down guy. I'm a huge Dylan Sampson guy. I'm also a huge Cam Scattaboo guy, and I will take him here. Love Cam Scattaboo. Is he the fastest? No. Is he going to run like a high 4.5, low 4.6 in the combine? Probably. That being said, what he does very, very well will translate to the NFL. He breaks tackles, he pass blocks, and he catches passes. He's one of the better pass catching running backs in this draft, besides the specialist guys. One of the all around workhorse guys. He's one of the best in this draft class. He is. And that's going to translate to the NFL. It just will. Some other players that I'm higher on here. I'll go ahead and take Devin Neal. A lot of running backs, as you're going to see. I am a Devin Neal guy. I like Devin Neal. He's just productive. He has good speed, good tape to watch. I have him below guys like Scattaboo and Dylan Sampson, and obviously the top tier guys, but he's kind of in that next tier of guys, and I love taking shots on him depending on where he goes, late second to third round here. Just want to make sure I don't miss anyone. DJ Giddens is another player. Again, a lot of running backs, man. Just a lot of running backs in this draft class. So DJ Giddens, I don't really see him mock draft a lot in this top 3 rounds. So we'll see where he goes, but I'm a big DJ Giddens kind of guy. Xavier Restrepo as well. I think he's a solid player. I don't think he has much of a ceiling, if I'm being completely honest. Don't think he has much of a ceiling, Xavier Restrepo, but I think he'll be like a solid bench player, bye-week replacement type of guy. So Bashal Tutin is another player who I never see drafted in the first few rounds, so he might get day 3 draft capital. Bashal Tutin, just a nice, fun player to watch. Pretty productive in college as well. I want to say, I'm just double checking how many years of production he had. He was at Virginia Tech, and then he played at a smaller school before that. But his 2 years at Virginia Tech, he was really productive. I think he can catch passes decently well, so we'll put him in here. Just making sure I didn't forget anyone. Brashard Smith is interesting as a pass catcher. I'm kind of interested. There's still some guys that I have yet to scout, so I don't want to just say their names and say like, hey, I'm going to scout these guys. So I'm trying to think of guys that I have scouted. And for that reason, I'm going to mention RJ Harvey. About a month ago, I was like, oh, I'm really, really high on RJ Harvey. I'm a little bit lower on him, watching more of his game film. One of the reasons is because of the way he wins in college. I don't know if it can. It usually doesn't translate to the NFL. And what do I mean by that is he wins a lot by bouncing it to the outside, and you can win that way in college. You can't win that way in the NFL. Guys are too fast. You have to win between the tackles, and a lot of his big games you see. In a lot of his big games, his big runs come on when he bounces things to the outside. So I'm a little bit worried about that. And if the team's going to see him as an in-between the tackles guy or just like this change of pace, third down guy. And then to finish up here, let me shout out again, just kind of sticking to guys that I have scouted. I'm just going to throw Ollie Gordon in here. Some people love Ollie Gordon. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of Ollie Gordon because I see him going as high as the first round. Now, if he doesn't get the draft capital, that will change. That being said, his second year in college was special. And can a team find that? And was it all on him or something? Was it on the team? I don't know. He's fine to take a shot in this range. So that's it for you guys today. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as always. And join our Discord. Appreciate you all. We'll see you all in the next video.